Hey, welcome back. You might notice that I've toned down this video and added a little bit more commentary. Everybody needs a little bit more commentary, right? Anyway, this boat's trash, and I wanted to show you how easy it was to bring some of these things back without wet sanding. Check it out. And now for the uninitiated. This boat has sat completely neglected for about 20 years in the desert of eastern Washington. If you're not familiar with Washington, you probably think that it's wet here all the time. And in some parts of Washington, you'd absolutely be right. On this side of the mountains, however, our summers are brutal. Brutal like California, brutal like Texas, brutal like Louisiana, brutal like Florida. Now I'm telling you, we have heat too, and I'm not poking fun at any of y'all's accents. And if you live anywhere that's harsh on gel coat, which is everywhere, you can relate to this situation, and whenever you have it this bad, most people will say, hey, you've got to wet sand it. Well, I have an alternative to that if you're interested. It's been working for me for almost 20 years. Now you can see how there is absolutely no reflection whatsoever in this gel coat. You can also see that it hasn't been registered since 2003. Now this was a kind of a delineation line from the taping off that I did. Tried to get it right down the middle. And unfortunately there are some giant pores existing in this gel coat, which you can see in the reflection. In my view, the reflection's pretty tight. Not here so much. That actually took a little bit more, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. But there's some lichen in the gel coat. I didn't want to take it out. I just buffed over it because this is kind of a junk demo boat. So some of the stuff you're going to see is me just not caring whatsoever. But at the same time, when you have a boat that's this bad, some things you can save, some things you can't. I'd like to show you how I go about this. If you're interested, stick around. Trust me, stick around. Ah, yes, the front part, underneath the windshield. Gotcha. So, I had been using testing, a very popular rubbing compound used by lots of folks around the country, and I just wanted to see how it worked. Not so impressed on this particular boat. I believe what had happened is I whipped out the Heavy Cut by 3M, some Perfected EXAC, and this is the reflection I got. As for the rest of the boat, well, you're about to find out.
All right, steps. First step, clean out your pad. Have a nice clean pad. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and spur it out. Spin the wheel up to about 3,500. Hold your breath. That. Now, I'm going to grab some compound. So, I'll use the Heavy Cut first.
Alright, now that I've got this kind of spread out, I'm going to speed up a little bit and start working on my edges. All of my edges. That includes this piece of tape because, well, it's an edge. So I'm going to work on my edges, then I'm going to go towards the center sections, do a little cross-cutting, then I'm going to flatten out and move on to the next section. You're going to see me use Heavy Cut as well as Perfected EXAC because sometimes, even on really nasty oxidation, You don't always need the world's most aggressive compound to get through it. You just need a little finesse, a little style. At some point, you might see me just hold this buffer with one hand and think, wow, that's neat. It's not neat, it's what should happen. You shouldn't be fighting the buffer. You should be dancing with it. Stay watching. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, let's both pretend that I'm going at like 600 to 800 RPM for the entirety of this video, because unless you've got 20 years of experience behind you, or at least 15, hell, unless you have 10 years of experience behind you, or you're so good with the buffer, you trust everything you do, please don't go fast. I'm doing this because the other people on YouTube that seem to be really popular concerning boat detailing, they can't. So this is kind of an ego stroke to me and kind of a shot over the bow to them, just saying, hey, this is possible, but you can't do it. You can't go full speed without swirls. I know it because otherwise you'd show it. That's all this is. I apologize if it misled anybody. Go slow. It works just as fast. If you're wondering, does it need to take all those passes? Not really. I'm kind of OCD about this. The fact that it does take a couple passes and it does take a little bit of time, yeah, I can see that being annoying and boring. But it's still a lot faster than wet sanding. A lot cheaper than wet sanding. And the results last as long as if I had wet sanded it. How do I know? Well, I've got videos that show this. If you're interested, check out my library. In the meantime, just chill out for a second. Let me show you how this is done with heavy cut, and then how it's done with perfected EXAC. If you don't think that oxidation is easy to get out if you use the right techniques, it's because you haven't learned the right techniques. That's all. I realize that this is boring. I know it because while I was doing the boat, I was bored. At the same time, while everyone else on YouTube might show you a before and an after, they also fast forward through a great deal of it. And there's a lot of mystery to it. And a lot of weird shots. In other words, no direct reflection of the sun into the camera so that you can see exactly what the gel coat looks like. Does it have swirls? Does it have holograms? Is it a nice clean finish or not? I don't hide anything, and if I do, I tell you what I hid, and it's because you've seen it 1,000 times in other videos before. I've got like 300 of these. I also teach a class if you're interested, but if you're not interested in having a full-fledged class to learn everything that I know about this, then just sit back and watch this demo, because my guess is, just in the time that you've watched so far, something must have piqued your interest. Something must have caught your eye and you thought, wow, is that actually possible? Can I do this? Yes, you can. Give it a shot. Now you might notice a little bit of red. A little bit of the boat came off on the back side of that pad that I'm using currently. I'm letting that dry as I use the other side of the pad, and when it is dry and I need to use the fresh side, I'll use my spur and clean that out. I'll also add that no good boat detailer I've ever met or seen uses single-sided wool pads. That's just kind of crazy. Now, if it's a foam pad, I understand, but most boat detailers know the benefit of using a double-sided pad and would never use anything else if they had the choice. So if you see one using a single-sided pad, hack. While I'm doing this, you might see me doing some things and you have questions. Why is he doing that? Why is he holding it like that? I thought edges were bad. That's how you get holograms. Well, I'd like to tell you all those answers to the questions that you have. I have been doing this for a long time, so I have lots to say on the subject. If you're at all interested, I'm going to be starting to edit all of my videos, give backside commentary to all of them, showing you the little tips and tricks that I used and why I did this, and here's my thought process on this. This is why I didn't do this. Sometimes you risk this, blah, 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 blah. So keep an eye out. Pretty soon, everything that I've got is going to be redone so that I don't have to do all 300 boats again. I'll just re-edit the videos. Maybe I can give you a little bit more insight. But for right now, just sit back and watch. I'm not going to tell you too much. This, again, is just a demo, just showing you that in the last, what has it been, 10 minutes, 11 minutes? Look how much of this boat has been brought back. The decals are still there. My wrists and elbows are still here. I don't have a bunch of sanding discs everywhere. Folks, I'm telling you, this is something that you could pay attention to and learn a lot from. Just hang in there a little bit, all right? Trust me. All right, see, told you, Perfected EXAC. You're about to see how powerful it can be. And now I know it's a finishing compound, but it actually is really aggressive if you use it aggressively. Check it out. And let me apologize for showing you nothing but the way my back looks while I'm doing this with Perfected EXAC. Good news is, I have over 300 other videos showing all of this in much greater detail. If you're interested at all, check out my library. By the way, if it's not too much to ask, if you've enjoyed any of this so far, please hit that like button. Even subscribe if you wouldn't mind. I don't care if you turn on notifications or don't turn them off or turn them on. It doesn't really matter. But the only way I get any traction on YouTube after being here for over 11 years is if people start liking or commenting or sharing the videos. So if you don't mind, give me a hand and I'll stop showing you my back, or at least I'll try. Ah, the waxing. Well, here we are. I've already applied wax to the boat. I've let it kind of haze up, and I'm using a soft nylon wool blend double-sided pad to remove the wax. Now I'm using very little pressure. I'm basically going through half of the effort that I went through to use compound. All I'm doing is trying to just take the wax off and not leave any swirls or holograms if I can avoid it. That's it. You're just going through the motions of buffing. There's no real pressure that you should ever have to put on to remove wax. If there is wax that doesn't come off while you're just kind of gliding over it, leave it. Take it off with a microfiber rag later. Don't try to dig into it with a pad. You'll ruin your pad and your finish. Okay?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that.
Now when most YouTube detailers get done with the job, they'll show you a shot very similar to this, looking down the side of a boat, not in direct sunlight, in kind of a shaded spot, where the angle of the sun is pretty much straight up and down. I don't. You'll see why.
See if we got some swirls. One big long one, which tells us nope, no swirls. Just an oil streak. No big deal. In case you forgot what it looked like before, there you go.
This is just a reminder of how trashed out this boat was when I found it. All of this damage is done from nothing other than the sun. Crazy, right? By the way, if in this video you can't hear me while I'm talking in the background of working a buffer, I apologize. It's one of the reasons that I'm doing this commentary now. Now maybe your boat, RV, has not been this neglected, although I do kind of want those skis like over a fireplace. That'd be cool. Maybe your gel coat's not this neglected, but let's say it is kind of trashed and kind of dry. I'm just suggesting that maybe you don't need to spend $6,000 to $10,000 to get it to look like this. You could take care of it in a weekend. How do I know? Because I've got folks just like you who've watched my technique, my videos, and after about 10 hours of watching them, they're like, hey, I'm just going to do it. And the videos and the pictures that they've sent me are absolutely mind-blowing. They're amazing. Man, you got to give this a shot. You got to try this. Now, before you go flame in my comment section, people always ask me, how long did this last? How long did the shine last? It lasted for over 3 years. You want to learn how to do this? You want to learn how to get your boat to the point where you don't have to sand it or compound it every 6 months? I'll show you how. Just watch a video. Sit back, watch a video. Not this one. This is one of my worst videos, believe it or not. It just happens to be popular, and I'm not quite sure why. It'll probably lose popularity now that I'm talking over it. But this is a normal result for me. This is what I teach people how to do and have taught them how to do for a good long time. You can do this. Trust me. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments section. If you have any comments, that's a great place to do it. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Peaces.